Here is your latest, and freedom of speech going to shit. Myanmar's top court rejects final appeal by jailed Reuters journalists. For anybody who doesn't know, I don't know, you're probably all aware of the Rohingya situation in Myanmar. These were two journalists who were trying to report on the situation and basically expose a lot of the extremely shady shit that the Myanmar government were doing, and as a result, the two reporters got arrested for it. Don't know what that word is. Myanmar's top court on Tuesday rejected the appeal of two Reuters reporters sentenced to 7 years in jail for breaking the Official Secrets Act in a landmark case that has raised questions about the country's transition to democracy. The problem is there is a story behind how they apparently came across these secrets, but I'll go into that in a minute. They were sentenced for 7 years, and this decision stands, and the appeal is rejected. Supreme Court Justice So Neng told the court in the capital, fuck whatever that is, man, without elaborating. So he gave literally no explanation whatsoever as to why the appeal was rejected. I can relate. Walon, 33, and Kyoso U, 29, have spent more than 16 months in detention since they were arrested in December 2017 while working on an investigation into the killing of 10 Rohingya Muslim men and boys. Basically, there was a little bit of a death squad situation in regards to the Rohingya Muslims. It was a kind of a genocide, a little bit. They were trying to basically force them out of the area and get rid of them, and as a result a few resisted, and they ended up getting killed. It was probably the equivalent of Bloody Sunday. They are being held at Yangon's insane prison and were not present to hear the Supreme Court verdict. Their wives, who had travelled from Yangon to hear the verdict on Tuesday, emerged from the courtroom quietly wiping away tears. Panay Mon, Walon's wife, who gave birth to their first child last year, fucking hell, said she had been hoping for the best. Our husbands are good people, she said. We want them to be released as soon as possible. The journalists were found guilty under the Official Secrets Act last September by a district court judge in Myanmar's largest city, Yangon. They were sentenced to 7 years in prison. The Yangon High Court earlier rejected an appeal in January. The appeal to the country's most senior court, the Supreme Court, cited lack of proof of a crime and evidence that the pair were set up by the police. That's the bit that I want to fucking go into. A policeman testified last year that the officers had planted secret documents on the two reporters. Fuck me. So a policeman actually testified supporting that that's what the cops did. If the article discusses what actually happened, I won't go into it, but wait until you hear what the cops did to these guys. Walon and Kyaso did not commit any crime, nor was there any proof that they did, Reuters chief counsel Gail Grove said in a statement on Tuesday. Instead, they were victims of a police set-up to silence their truthful reporting. We will continue to do all we can to free them as soon as possible. Than Song, a lawyer for the defence, said the families of the two men plan to submit a letter to Myanmar President Win Myint's office seeking a pardon. Yeah, I've got a feeling that most of this came from the president directly, but again, I'll get into that later. A government spokesman did not answer calls seeking comment. Grave injustice. The reporter's imprisonment has sparked an outcry from press freedom advocates, Western diplomats and world leaders, adding to pressure on Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi, the Nobel laureate who took power in 2016 amid a transition to democracy from military rule. The courtroom on Tuesday was crowded with diplomats and observers as So Neng read the brief verdict without giving any explanation. In a statement, the US Embassy in Yangon called the ruling deeply disappointing. The convictions, along with charges brought against satirical poets, a filmmaker, and other journalists in recent weeks, point to an increasing intolerance for free speech in Myanmar, the embassy said. Yeah, see this fucking, the transition from military rule to democracy? Bullshit. It's not. It's fucking out the frying pan into the fire. Myanmar is going full authoritarian, and the first people they went after the Rohingyas, and the first people they went after is journalists reporting the truth about what the government's doing. Journalism, satire, peaceful protest, and other forms of legitimate expression should not be crimes in a democratic society, the statement said. Yes, absolutely true. Could not agree more. The head of the United Nations in Myanmar, not Odstby, see these fucking names, man, I cannot pronounce them, said the UN would continue to call for full respect of freedom of the press and human rights. The UN human rights spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani told Reuters in Geneva that the judiciary had failed to act as an independent check on authorities, and she urged Myanmar to act in line with international human rights standards. The Reuters case is one of numerous others where restrictive legislation has been used to limit the right to information and to silence dissent and criticism. Authoritarianism, this is the precursor to fascism, because basically it's the government are coming after people that are pointing out the shitty, shady things that the government is doing. That's what this is. This is authoritarianism, and authoritarianism is the baby steps to fascism, where the state is no longer just, the oppressive body coming over you. You literally are supposed to see the state as God. Myanmar is slowly but surely becoming a fascist state. Sean Crispin, senior Southeast Asia representative of the Committee to Protect Journalists, said Myanmar had criminalised independent journalism. Essentially it has. The investigation the journalists were working on at the time of the arrest, which uncovered security forces' involvement in killings, arson and looting, was completed by colleagues and published in 2018. Last week the coverage was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for International Reporting. That's actually very good. The UN investigators have called for high-ranking military officials to be prosecuted for crimes against humanity and genocide over a 2017 crackdown on the Rohingya in response to militant attacks in the western part of the country. See, this is basically the thing is there were Muslim terrorist attacks in Myanmar, and the ethnic group of Muslims in Myanmar are the Rohingya Muslims, and what they basically did was went in and, even though it's literally a case of hashtag not all, they went in and the military went in and attacked the whole community, everyone, bulldozed their houses, burned their houses down, looting. Apparently there was even some raping going on as well, and basically, obviously, these people tried to defend their property and the military opened fire. So that's what happened. It was essentially a small-scale attempt at genocide. Nicholas Bequelin, Amnesty International's regional director for East and Southeast Asia, said in a statement after Tuesday's verdict that Wallon and Kyoso were not isolated cases and there had been a disturbing surge in politically motivated arrests in Myanmar. President Win Myint pardoned more than 9,000 prisoners during a mass amnesty to mark the traditional Burmese New Year in mid-April, but rights group the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners said among them were just 2 dozens of political prisoners. Responding to criticism in local media, the country's prison department said in a statement on Monday that there were no political prisoners in Myanmar. Yeah, okay then. Just like after the homosexual holocaust that happened in Chechnya, what was it? Ramzan Kadyrov came out and said, "There are no homosexuals in Chechnya." You're fucking lying bastards, man. Fuck's sake. So basically, let me tell you what happened to the journalists. They were doing as was reported, exposing the security services and the military for the literal war crimes they committed against the Rohingya Muslims. Right, that's what they were doing. They were reporting on it and bringing the truth about the horrendous, horrible things that they did. Good journalism. Good journalism. Exposing atrocities against the human race. Good journalism. Noble. Push it. It should be literally it should be the most protected form of journalism. Whistleblowing and bringing attention to war crimes that the government is trying to cover up, that should be the most protected form of journalism. And what happened was, a policeman went into the offices of these 2 journalists saying he had secret information in regards to the Rohingya attacks. These journalists, obviously wanting to do their job and present the truth to the people, took the paper from the policeman. The policeman then walked out of their office. The instant he walked out of their office, boom, the officers fucking ran in, grabbed him. The guy's literally still sitting there with a piece of paper in his hand. You're under arrest for a possession of official state secrets. The whole thing was a set-up. The whole thing was a set-up and completely rigged. They said the police sent that guy in there to bait them. The police obviously, the government obviously wanted a reason to arrest them, but technically they hadn't broken any laws. So basically, we're just going to need to entrap the absolute shit out of them then. So they sent that police officer in there to bait them. They took the piece of paper from him and boom, the squad ran in, arrested them. And they've had all their appeals denied with no explanation given whatsoever. So basically, Myanmar, I think it's safe to say, is becoming an authoritarian regime. where freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of protest, all of these things are going to go. They're going to go. Because as the government are taking measures to get rid of them right now as we speak. It's this, we transferred from a military power into a democratic one. Fuck off. Don't try and pull this fucking North Korea, the Democratic Republic. Oh, fuck off. You're fooling no one. You're fooling no one, right? You can sit there and call yourself democratic all you want. The way you are conducting yourself proves that you are anything but. Fuck me. This is why I moved away for this type of content on the main channel. Like I've still talk about free speech as much as I can on here on the second channel, but it's just so hard not to feel sad all the time because I never deliver good news on freedom of speech, do I? Basically, these guys earned the Pulitzer Prize for bringing attention to the shady goings-on, the shady dealings of the security services. Good, that is what they should have done. That is good. Excellent journalism. Whistleblowing on horrific atrocities committed by the state. Yes. Good journalism. Excellent journalism. And their reward was 7 years in fucking prison. Thereby, literally proving the point of their journalism that the government are becoming authoritarian, verging into fascist arseholes. Right? All the government did was prove the point that these journalists made. And they are free speech martyrs. They are. They are martyrs for freedom of speech. Fuck me, I honestly hope to fuck they get released. Because I've got a feeling with the amount of eyes that are on this, we may one day hear an official release from their government about how both of them had an unfortunate slip in the prison showers. Hopefully the government wouldn't be that bold, but you never know.